Hello, everybody. Kathy Caprino here, and welcome to another episode of Finding Brave. I am so honored to have our amazing guest today. And frankly, I need this talk with Dr. Gregory Jantz here, who is a mental health expert, and you're going to hear all about him. But before we do start our interview, I do want to say a few words, which I don't tend to as a preamble, but I do want to share with you that this is the first episode since the pandemic spread that um, is giving you live content rather than what I have distributed before, which has been pre-recorded. So the whole point here is that I'd love to be as responsive as possible and bring kind of cutting edge information that will hopefully help you right where you are today. So I am going to ask your forbearance on some of the others that have come out that were pre-recorded. I think they're still not tone deaf. I'm trying not to be tone deaf, and I see all sorts of businesses sending out their promotions, and it's like, wow, look at your autoresponders, look at the things that you're sending out without knowing it, and change them. But this is my effort to bring you kind of cutting edge material. The other thing I want to share with you is, you probably all know I'm a former therapist, got all that going on. And if you need any help, I hope you will just reach out to me at info@kathycaprino.com with a question about anything, your career, your job, how you're feeling. I'm more than happy to help you. And I am launching a mentorship program, an application-based mentorship program for free. And so stay tuned for that. And if you can think of any other ways I can be of help to you, please let me know at info@kathycaprino.com. And I am sending you hugs and love every minute. Okay, now let's get to what we're talking about today, which is what's our headline here? How to manage depression and anxiety in fear-inducing times, in chaotic times. And who do we have here? A best-selling author, 39 books you just shared with me, Dr. Jantz. Oh, holy cow. And psychologist Dr. Gregory Jantz is the founder of The Center, a place of hope, where he treats people suffering from anxiety, depression, PTSD, addiction, eating disorders, and more. And Dr. Jantz's latest book, Healing Depression for Life, I mean, who doesn't want to read this, is on the shelves now. Thank you for jumping in at the last possible minute and talking to us. And, just I'm hugging you up for the work that you do. You shared that your center is fully operational, and it's a residential, center. Wow. You haven't skipped a beat in helping people who need it more than ever now, your work. Thank you for that. So let's start with the question I think might be on everybody's mind. It's what my friends are dealing with, colleagues, clients, what I'm dealing with. When we're in these times where, and I think it's safe to say, I'm not being hyperbolic, we feel so uprooted. Everything that we've taken so for granted is shifting. I kind of feel like a tumbleweed flying through the desert, unhinged, going wherever the wind may blow, and the information we're getting changes every minute. I'm a person that loves information, and when it changes, whoop, don't, no, that's wrong. It's not just elderly people getting sick, it's everyone, blah, blah, blah. What do we do first, Dr. Jantz, to rein in our fears? Where do we begin?
Well, when we get to that place of panic, panic breeds panic, and people run in herds. And what I mean by that is somebody in Seattle decided to start buying toilet paper,
Oh,
right? And I'm
okay.
just using this as an example. And now across the country, we have a toilet paper panic pandemic. And everybody said, and part of that is, well, if everybody else is doing it, I need to do it as well.
And
I
if we
need to do
see the
something.
shelves empty, we don't think that's hoarding. We think there's going to be an absence of what we need. Don't you agree?
Yes, I think so. But the other factor that we need to look at is if I go out and do something because it appears that everybody else is,
Yes.
then I have a sense of control. It's like I've done something and I feel a little more control because everything seems out of control.
Right.
And then here's the next step.
Wait, can I go back to that, Dr. Jantz?
Oh, sure.
So are you saying we need to rein in that and maybe only buy enough toilet paper for 2 weeks? Well, how do we handle
Oh, sure.
this sea of behavior that scares us, but we're swept up in it?
Well, last Sunday I did a little personal experiment. I went over Sunday afternoon to a Costco, and I didn't go in because it was full and it looked kind of crazy, and there were people lined up outside. And then I actually drove almost exactly 1 mile away to a chain grocery store, 1 mile away. I went in and everything seemed pretty normal. Uh, Nobody was rushing through. I went down the aisle where the tissue and toilet paper was, and there was actually nobody else there, and there was toilet paper on the shelf. And
Wow.
I looked at it and I go, panic goes in herds. Decide, am I going to be a part of that? There were some people, I would say, a little more peacefully shopping
Oh.
than others. And what that looks like is
Mm.
um, they're not caught up in that intense anxiety. So anxiety means it's hit me physically. I have physical symptoms, shortness of breath. I feel it in my gut. There's an intensity physically to anxiety, and that's the edge. Now I hear concern. This is incredible to watch what's going on, but I have a choice about how am I going to respond to this. Just like
Mm.
we're not too far from Seattle, and it's a beautiful day here, and we have
Wow.
patients here. And one told me earlier this morning, "I feel safer here. This is a safer place, and people are not in panic." And so we do have a choice. And granted, it's not always an easy choice, but I want to keep people from getting on that edge of panic where you feel that desperation.
I love it. I'm already calmer listening to you. I'm sure a billion people have said it. Your voice is so soothing. Um, what I want to ask you here is w- we were talking about how do we balance? Oh, no, there is something I want to highlight in what you said. Those of us who are in a helping profession, it's kind of our job to understand that we broadcast. I did a
Sure.
podcast a year ago with Michelle Gielan, who used to be, I think, a CBS broadcaster. And, they were doing research on if you listen to 8 minutes only a day of frightening doom and gloom news, your mood
Yeah.
is changed for the entire day.
Yeah.
So I think many of us understand that we are broadcasting emotion. So I noticed I just went to CVS down the road. There
Yeah.
was a woman who had a mask and she looked at me like I was the devil. And I am trying to breathe and smile at people and laugh and share calmness. I'm trying to broadcast calm.
Yeah.
And I think that part of what you've said is, isn't it not only how you're taking it all in, but who you want to be for other people, who you want to be for the people you work with and your children and your loved ones? Can you talk about that a little bit? How do we have this demeanor that you have, which is so soothing? How do we do it?
Well, I think we also have to decide where we're going to anchor ourselves.
Hmm.
And I think we all need 3 to 5 really great, positive, if you will, relationships that people that will tell us the truth. We can really be empowered by each other right now. I heard somebody say, we're shoulder to shoulder as a country, 6 feet apart.
Oh,
So,
that's
and we
beautiful.
are in this together, and we are shouldering this together.
Oh,
But if I move to that panic, I lose my rational thought. I make decisions out of desperation. And so this is a time where we want to practice, I'll call it impulse control. We want to step back and just be careful that I'm not, being so impulsive that I'm going to later regret it.
oh, I
So
love
this
that.
is a time, this is a time to wake up in the morning and write down the 3 gratitudes every day. 3 gratitudes. Start your day with gratefulness. Start your day with, because that's going to lead to a little more optimism. And I get it. I mean, these are stressful times. There's financial unknowns. There's a lot going on. So this is where we do need to really come together. Our country maybe hasn't done a good job with that. That maybe now we're starting to see, hey, we do need each other. Let's work on this together, and let's really care about each other's well-being.
Oh, I love it. Can you talk a little bit about, so we're facing anxiety. I know that you deal with substance abuse as well, which I'm guessing is on the rise. I don't have the data on that, but I'm guessing it would might have to be. But can we talk for a minute about depression? And I will be completely transparent. I don't suffer from depression generally, and I'm quick to joy. So even if I'm mad or down, I can't stay that way.
Yeah,
But I notice the weather impacts me. If it's
yeah,
you're
yeah.
in near Seattle, you got a lot of rain there. But like right now it's sunny, I immediately feel more ebullient and hopeful. But there were days here when I would call it a down mood.
Sure.
Down. So when you're dealing and people are telling me I'm down, I'm depressed, I don't know what to do. Can you talk about, now there's clinical depression, which is treated in a certain way. I know you have powerful treatment approaches. But for the average person who it isn't a chronic depressive experience they're having, how do we uplift ourselves when we're feeling down? What do we do?
Well, I want to share a couple things not to do first.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Great.
Um, we have the thing going on right now, social distancing.
Makes
And
me down,
yeah,
Dr. Jantz. I miss it. I miss people.
well, and that's different than social isolation. So we don't want to do social isolation. The more that we're isolated socially, the more that we're probably going to move over to self-destructive behaviors.
Interesting.
What does that look like?
Yeah, tell me.
Well,
Tell us.
if I'm just cooped up and I'm isolating from others, maybe I'm going to turn to food. I had somebody,
Chocolate. So
yeah,
much darn
well, I had
chocolate.
somebody tell me that, they're enjoying their half gallon of ice cream each night. Well, I think there's going to be later regret, but I understand how you can get there.
Right.
If you're depressed, you like sweet and smooth food. Ice cream is perfect. So we're looking for something to mood alter. And you mentioned alcohol consumption. You know what? If we just go and look at what people are buying,
Are they
the
buying more alcohol?
alcohol shelves kind of look like the toilet paper shelves. That's not a good sign. So if I do these behaviors in excess, because I have anxiety and I want to mood elevate, I want to feel different, I'm going to have later regret.
So can you give us it's not easy to uplift ourselves or soothe ourselves in healthy ways. It isn't. The quick way is, and can I point out, I'm anti-guns. Those listening, if you don't agree, thank you for your patience and being kind. But I see that there's a run on guns,
Oh
and
yeah,
someone said
yeah,
you can't kill the virus with guns.
yeah.
What is that? I mean, clearly it's fear, but what are they afraid of?
Well, there's the fear. Two things that people are concerned about right now: protection
Mm,
and provision.
ooh,
And so the financial provision, food provision, and then I have to protect myself. Yeah, we're fighting an unknown virus, but what else could happen? And so keep in mind, the basic safety needs and safety needs emotionally, but how am I meeting my needs for protection in a healthy way or not? And then provision, of course, could be financial, food. I need to make sure. And if I'm not getting those things met, I may become very panicky and irrational.
I see. So back to what you're saying about soothing ourselves with external things. All right, we don't want to do that. So can I give an example that might be helpful? Chocolate is my thing. And I've had relationships with food that are not healthy for a long time, and thankfully I've gotten help with a lot of it. But I will find until about now that before I even know it, if something's upsetting me or angering me or a client treated me badly, which doesn't happen much, but I'm in the kitchen eating chocolate before I can even remember that I walked to the kitchen. Now it's better, but I'm sure people are like me, that we eat or we abuse substances before it's a knee-jerk reaction before we can intervene in it.
Mhm.
So if people are, yeah, I'm going to the ice cream, I'm going to my rum bottle, this is what you deal with day in and day out in your treatment centers, I'm sure, a center. What can we tell people to do to intervene before they reach for that thing that
Yeah.
calms them?
Well, I think one of the things that we're forgetting to do, and this is going to sound really simple, but we tend to stop drinking water when we're anxious.
So
People
true.
drink a lot of other things.
Coffee. I've got so much coffee in my system, I
Yeah,
can't even believe it.
there we go. And so what I want you to do is have that water bottle and make a commitment. Get most of all your water by, let's say, noon, by
Oh,
halfway through the day, because
what does that do
water,
for us?
well, improves mood, improves concentration.
Water? Oh,
So,
hydration
and the
improves mood.
hydration improves mood. Water will help with even blood pressure. So people need to get their water. You probably noticed that if you don't get enough water, you get irritable and cranky and so forth. So we always have a little joke here, have you had your water? Um,
Hey,
so
Fred, have you had your water?
what
Go
is,
get it.
if you want coffee in the morning, that's okay, but just get the majority of your water in by noonish. It'll start
What a
after
great
about the
idea.
third day. It'll start to make a difference.
Wow.
Uh, because otherwise I'm going to probably be set up to do other things. I always tell people too, I'm a proponent of getting some protein in the morning. It's a simple protein drink, but get some protein, fuel your brain in the morning. Don't let the blood sugars drop. We get anxious, we don't eat, or we overeat.
Oh,
And so we get that sense of kind of that panic feeling. So supply your body with the fuel it needs. Let's start there. So if we can take care of ourselves physically. The other thing I'm noticing that we need to be sure we're all doing is
mm.
if we're socially isolating, we're probably not moving a lot.
Oh, good
So
grief.
we need we need to go out and have that 20-minute, whatever it is, brisk walk. We need to get outside. We've got to keep moving right now. Movement,
Movement.
does help tremendously. We've got serotonin, dopamine, we've got these chemicals in our brain that movement can help us. So get moving.
Oh, I love this. So simple, people. All right. I will need to go back to something you said. You said social distancing is not the same as social
Yeah, yeah,
isolation,
yeah,
but people are going to say to you, yeah, but I'm scared. And we're told not to have groups of more than 10.
yeah,
And we're looking at Italy that's struggling so hard. And some hypotheses for why that culture's struggling is they go out a lot to get fresh food. They are social and, lots of issues. Um, can you tell us the difference in your mind between the mandatory social distancing and isolation? What do you think are the
yeah.
differences?
Isolation is I'm cutting off from people.
Okay.
So have the 3 to 5 human being contacts a day. So,
Wow.
and I don't mean through email or social
You
media.
mean really physically?
I mean, maybe it's in person. You're going to go for a walk together. Maybe we're going to do like we're doing today and connecting this way.
Oh,
There's something about hearing a person's voice, talking to a person. So even if it's a phone call,
you're
do
right.
that. Okay. So keep the human relationships going. Now, be careful if you're calling and you're talking with somebody
Mm.
and all you're talking about is the coronavirus. That's it. Um, that's kind of like being on social media all day
Oh,
because there's a lot of viral misinformation.
oh,
So let's be careful about the misinformation.
I love it. I love it. Um, can you talk about somebody told me I run a course, the Amazing Career Project, every week, and God, we love being together and just sharing, what's going on. But somebody mentioned that every day they look at their top priorities and they make a list of who matters and what matters. And we talked a long time about that and how that's grounding to
Yeah.
know what is it that matters most to you right now. And I'm sure that comes up in the work that you do. Can you talk about priorities a little and how we can determine them and how they can ground us? What do you think about that?
Yeah. And I think our priorities, this is a time maybe of resetting. This might be a time of reprioritizing and discovering what's really most important to me. Wow, we're going to see a lot of that. I'm going to have to say it's going to be, at least for me, it's going to be our relationships. There can be a lot of things that are pretty intense right now, and you may feel really irritable. And we need to be giving each other a lot of grace right now. You
Mm,
may say or do things just because of the intensity. So give each other grace
grace.
um, versus increased conflict.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so our relationships, I think we want to really go, okay, who do I really want to spend more time with? What's the most valuable to me?
Oh, I love that. You know, I'm certainly no poster child for this, but I've spoken a lot with Sean Acor, who's a happiness expert, and I adore him, and he lives it. And he has, I should republish this, a 5 step happiness kind of boost. And one of the steps is a random act of kindness.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
when I think of doing it, I am so it just changes. Must be a dopamine thing. I don't know. But I just, for instance, sent a note to my accountant who, their world is going upside down here. Although there is an extension for filing, thank goodness. But I just fired off, I'm thinking of you. And for me, I don't know, it helps me feel more empowered, more in control, and more kind. So
Mhm.
even something like a random act of kindness every day, I think can be very helpful. What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Kindness.
That fits in with the gratitude. And also, this is the time to look around and go, who in my neighborhood may need me just to check in with them? Uh, I need to be reaching out. If we get so self-absorbed with all the anxiety and all of our own stuff, then we're really not seeing the needs of others or potential needs of others. So let's take a look at that.
Oh, that's beautiful. There was another thing that so much of what you say is so rich and it expounds and expands, but I wanted to talk about, one thing I'm really missing is I'm a singer and I've been a singer all my life. And we have a group, the Wilton Singers, that meets every Tuesday and we can't meet. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
possible we might not be able to have our concert coming up in the spring. And it's funny. And I play tennis as well, and that's gone. Can't do that indoors. But it's funny how, and I'm guessing you can talk about this. I'm guessing there's a pattern that I've gone through that other people are going through. At first, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't even care about singing.
Uh-huh.
And then I miss it so much. I miss the physiological response. I miss the people. I miss the snacks afterward. And then I saw there was an online virtual choir event. And I was like, woohoo, I signed up. And then I realized I missed it. It was the day before. But then I'm on the board of our group. I'm like, why don't we create a virtual event where we can see each other and sing? So I went from, oh no, to I don't even care. I'm too stressed out to, oh, I miss it. So I think there are so many ways that technology allows us to be together. Yes, it's different. Yes, I'm not hugging you in person, but can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing your patients and clients are doing to kind of brainstorm? If I can't be with you, how do I get the same feeling like singing together? Are there suggestions you have about how to do this?
Yes. So if I can't be together, I do need to be creative, and just what you've just described. This is a time for us to look at what options could be there.
Right.
So there are options, and it may not be our first choice, but let's look at, okay, one of the priorities is I need to connect with things that give me enjoyment. I need to connect with people. And so how can I do this right now? There's a lot, maybe it's not the first choice, but there's a lot happening virtually. And most of the time people are going, I'm so glad that I did
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. Um,
Do you see what came to mind is some of the people I work with are high level professional women, and there's something called perfectionistic overfunction or overfunctioning that I've coined that they're doing more than is healthy, appropriate, and necessary and trying to get an A plus in all of it. And part of that also for many people is guilt. They have guilt if they are carving out joy. They have guilt if they're not getting caught up in
yeah.
this panic. Do you see that people have guilt over, I'm actually going to feel joy today? Damn it. I'm going to. Do you see that with people?
I think that is going on, and I appreciate you mentioning that. A person might say, why are you smiling today?"
Why are you singing? Hey, don't you know what's happening in the world?
Yeah. We need somebody to bring good news. and,
Yeah.
And well, it's just like there's good news in the news right now, but we're really not hearing much about it.
Is there? What are you hearing?
Well, I'm looking at the graphs that show how many people are recovering.
Yeah, we don't see that, do we?
Do you know now?
I have no
Yesterday,
idea what that number is.
well, see, of the hundred and some thousand yesterday, what was fascinating was it was at 81 some thousand who are in the recovered category.
Wow.
You're kidding me. We
Why
got
can't or not? Why is that not the
we've
top
got
headline?
that many people who are recovering. And so when I go to my state, Washington, I go to our Department of Health and I look at the chart that they're trying to keep active. And, you know,
Wow.
of the confirmed cases, and then unfortunately, there's some deaths. But we also are seeing all the people that are testing negative. Well,
Why the
right,
heck do we not see this?
19,000 people so far who have been tested have here in my state have been negative.
Wow.
Well, somebody share the good news.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And you know what we don't hear about anymore? The regular flu.
Yeah,
You know, a lot of people are being tested and they have the regular flu. Go home and you'll be fine. Why don't we hear this? Because in the news, what do we call it? What bleeds reads. What's the most frightening thing is what gets people to watch.
yeah,
So people, I think the lesson is seek out the good news. Don't feel guilty for having joy. Don't feel guilty that you're being very judicious about what you let in, you know?
yeah.
And obviously, can you talk a little more and then I'm going to let you go? I think that the research shows that stress suppresses our immune system. So you're not being selfish to have joy. You're not being selfish to care for yourself. You're helping yourself not get ill and spread it to others. Am I right?
Absolutely, you're right. Chronic stress, and you said it so well. But also, we need to look at it creates inflammation in the body. Inflammation is kind of known as the beginning place of disease.
Right.
And so this area, and I understand there's some stress, and I want us to deal with reality, but it's how we deal with it. So the self-care right now, um, don't feel guilty. We need to take care of ourselves because there's somebody that's going to need you today.
Oh, how beautiful. Can I ask you a personal question?
Sure.
You are so calming. You know, I just feel everything has just gone. It's like I'm talking to you. I'm interested how you got into this work. Did you know from early on you wanted to heal and help? Can I ask you that?
Sure. So this is our amazingly, it sounds funny to say this, but this is our 36th year. And
In running your center,
so I have
you have many
50,
centers.
there's a team of about 50 here. So we're proponents of whole person care, which means um, everything from covering the medical side to obviously the counseling piece, nutrition, fitness. We do natural health care as well. We have psychiatry as well. So we really believe in this model of whole person.
How
But you know,
beautiful.
as we recover and look at this and go, well, there needs to be even a greater purpose. What are my gifts and talents? What am I called to do? And so
Wow.
we really need to look at the whole person. So really, I didn't think, embarrassingly, even back in school, I didn't think psychology really had the answers. And I always thought some of the people in psychology seemed a little strange.
The
So,
wounded
you know,
healer healing. It's like, oh boy, go back to school a little bit. You're not quite done. You know what I mean?
yeah, I didn't want to fall into that category. But that said, you know, I think our greatest long-term success is when we're willing to look at the whole person, a thousand-piece puzzle, and look at all the different pieces of puzzle, and let's put it together.
And so you back. I'm going to push you. When you started out
Yeah.
and you went to school, did you know you wanted to do healing
Well,
work?
I didn't know what to call. Yes, yes, but I didn't know what necessarily how it would end up or what
Wow.
to
It
call
was
it. But
really a calling for you, wasn't it?
it was a vision of doing something different.
And look
So
what you've done.
there
Do
we are.
you all do Skype calls? And if somebody hears you, and we're gonna tell you all where to find Dr. Jansen and all, his center, but if someone would love to have some help from you in this way, does your team do that at all?
There's several different options for getting help, and so we have an admissions department, and they kind of go through those options.
Wow.
what's
Wonderful.
best. You know, we are seeing there is a great need, anxiety and depression right now, and I think we're going to see more of it, and we do want to be of help and a resource.
Wonderful. So, where do people learn all about you? Where do they get your books? Tell us where to go.
Books hopefully are available still.
There's been a run on them.
Does Amazon, I mean, well, people are buying a lot of other things right now, but of
First,
course,
it's toilet paper, then might be your books.
there we go. So, of course, Amazon and all the online
All
retailers.
right.
But for just good resources and information, you can visit us at aplaceofhope.com.
Beautiful. I
A
can't thank
place
you
of hope.
enough. Oh, I feel so much calmer. I hope everyone, please let us know what you felt about and how you felt listening to this. And if you have questions, this gets posted kind of everywhere, LinkedIn, all the social networks, and you and I will connect. And if you have a question, send it to us. Either one of us will do our best to send you resources or address it the best we can. And I hope you found that helpful in the Finding Brave journey that we're on.
Yeah,
And I can't thank you enough for your time. Thank you for the great work you're doing.
you're very welcome. There is hope.
There is hope. Yeah, and you are broadcasting it so beautifully. All right, everyone, love to you, thinking of you, and stay connected. And we will see you next week. Bye now.